sucked.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, God. So we knew this was going to be bad. Like, we've watched the press. We've seen all the controversy about this. We knew we were going to get involved in a painful experience. I straight up said, I'm not asking anyone else to watch this. I fully anticipated watching this solo. And God bless you, you brave soul that said, I'll do it.
I knew I had to, because there's no way I'm watching this on my own, but there's part of me where it's like, I know, like, I kind of have to subject myself to this on a certain level. I feel like I need to, just to be able to say, yes, I know. And I know both of us were expecting it to be, what it is.
Yeah.
But I love how the moment that we did...
I'm looking up right now.
Hang on. I think I have a solution for our lighting situation.
All right. Yeah, the minute we see...
There we go.
The widescreen 10 hours. Yeah, that'll
There we
work.
go. Jesus Christ. So... We both knew that this was going to be, a very unfortunate portrayal of autism, and a very self-indulgent movie that is horribly misguided and almost universally panned by people that are worth listening to. But literally less than 5 seconds in, we were both like, "Oh God!"
Like the minute they show how they're going to portray it. 'Cause I've heard it's a caricature. Yeah, it's offensive. Yeah, it's stereotypical, and it's like, how bad can it really be? And then you see, it's like, oh, Jesus.
You're like, oh, right, yeah.
Immediately, within 5 seconds, you see every bad choice that was made.
You're like, oh, no.
And you you just feel so bad for the poor actress who just got dragged into this nightmare.
Maddie Ziegler. So, do we want to take a moment to just review some of the madness leading up to this movie, or do you think people have... There's plenty of coverage.
I think we'll just, for those that don't know about it, I still one thing I do want to point out, just bring up why I in particular felt like I needed to make a point to watch and review this movie, because I seriously consider skipping it.
Yeah.
Is the fact that for a lot of people, a lot of old viewers on here will know, because I mentioned before, it's like I worked 3 years as a behavioral therapist. I worked in some pretty hardcore cases with people on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And this is a case of I have to talk about this because it is even though I don't do that anymore, and it was very hard on me. That job, the people.
It's a lot of responsibility.
The people that I worked with in the community that I worked with still have a special place in my heart. Mm-hmm. And I still have very fond and very hard memories from that time. That it's more this felt like a responsibility to me. Not that I'm expecting everyone to care about me personally seeing this, but I feel like I needed to say something about it.
Yeah, you have more of something to offer from even a neurotypical perspective than most people would.
I felt like I had a stake in this.
Yeah.
In a way. Like I said, it's like when you see something that you, yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. But I mean, you can speak from a more informed place than a lot of people.
Yeah. And it's I know there's people in the same field that know more than me, but I have the scars to prove that, to know that where this movie went wrong.
Yeah. And I'll be deferring to you on the specific, professional stuff.
Yeah.
But I can say that, I'm some flavor of on the spectrum. I know this. I've known it for a while. And I haven't gotten as deeply involved as someone who's professionally done it.
Yeah.
But, I understand there's this thing where even when you're, on the spectrum in some way, you can look at how certain things are portrayed or explained. You can look at how, you can look at people who have more severe cases of autism and, you can kind of understand what's happening because it is a more severe thing of things that you go through.
Absolutely.
So like things like sensitivity to sound and certain textures and needing to have certain stimulus and routines sometimes, like these are things that I've grown to learn more about and understand because they're things that I do and that I go through. So on a certain level, I can understand what these things look like, and I've definitely done some research to see how these things come through in more severe cases. So that being said, the lead up to this movie, Sia, Chandelier Lady.
Really quick,
Yeah.
quick clarification gotta make just for legal reasons. The proper term, I worked as a behavioral technician, not behavioral therapist. You need like an actual licensing for that. That's a correction. Don't sue me.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Yeah, none of this is coming from a professional medical situation. This is all just personal experience with these things. But I think we can both safely say that we have more knowledge and personal knowledge and have made more of an effort to learn about this shit than fucking Sia.
Yeah!
So
which fucking pisses me off. And
so just some preface about the whole situation with Sia in case you haven't been keeping up with it. For the past few years, she's been working on this movie. She had this whole vision that she wanted it to have this autistic girl and that she wanted it to be played by Maddie Ziegler. And there were people who lashed out at her and said, hey, you should have tried to cast someone who was actually on the spectrum for the role. And she said, we tried, but the girl that we got, it was too overwhelming for her. But then later in an interview, she just straight up said, like, I would have never made this movie without Maddie. I wrote this role for Maddie because I can't make a piece of art without Maddie. And there's a lot of really freaky stuff that if you dig deeper about the way that she's obsessed with Maddie Ziegler, that's becoming more and more suspect, especially after this movie. It's very disconcerting if you know things about like unhealthy relationships between adults and younger people. But then that aside, like Maddie Ziegler really tried. She did not come from the most informed place, but she watched a lot of videos and stuff. Unfortunately, those videos were apparently of autistic people
having tantrums.
Yeah, basically having meltdowns and stuff. And that's where she got a lot of her information. They teamed up with Autism Speaks as an organization to learn about this stuff. And if you don't know about Autism Speaks, they are probably the worst autism nonprofit to go to for any information. They're a group that sees it as something to be cured. And as, basically they have the completely wrong way to approach it as something that people live with.
And apparently a complete misunderstanding of what it even fucking is.
Yeah, no, Autism Speaks is a terrible resource for anything related to autism. And there are so many other places that you can team up with to learn better things. Doctors and professionals and, people with lived experiences. But people have spent years trying to tell Sia to not do this way and to listen and to try to do things differently. And one of the more infamous things is when some autistic actors reached out to her on Twitter and said, hey, like, why wouldn't you cast, one of us? Like, and in one of them specifically she responded to and just said, maybe you're just not a good actor. Just really childish responses to people on Twitter. This lady's like 40-something.
Yeah.
And she's going on Twitter just straight up responding to people like she's a high schooler, just being like, maybe you're dumb, maybe like you guys don't even know, you haven't watched my movie, like don't judge it before you watch my art, and like just the most insensitive, uninformed shit. And there's another thing about it that's genuinely harmful outside of that, which we'll get to. But the thing is that everyone told her for years not to do this. Maddie Ziegler, apparently, when she showed up on set, on the first day, she just started crying and said that she didn't want people to think that she was making fun of them. And Sia told her it's fine, and it's definitely not. But I don't blame Maddie Ziegler for this. I blame Sia.
No, neither do I. Like, she's someone that got caught up in all this bullshit.
Yeah, she's trying. But the funny thing is that within a couple days of it being released, suddenly Sia realized that she fucked up and shut down her Twitter, and no one's really heard from her ever since. So hopefully her fucking career is over, because, Chandelier was good for a while, but you can't cure everything with your magic inside kind of bullshit. So with that being said...
Like, I want to take this moment to just describe my stance on autism in film and TV, because it is a bone. I have like a massive bone to pick that I have.
Yeah, that's a big topic.
That is a big topic. Specifically, the one trend I've noticed in a lot of recent years is that autism tends to be put under the blanket term of Asperger's.
Yeah.
In a lot of the most recent products that come out, like every person that's portrayed with autism is portrayed as like just somebody with Asperger's, which is like there's nothing. I'm not like diminishing people that have it and struggle with it. However, I do take issue with the fact that that's the only portrayal of autism that we see. So I welcome opportunities to expand what that means in terms of representation.
Sure.
However, there is, as the movie clearly demonstrates, there is the opposite effect of that, where it basically turns into fucking blackface.
It's like wait, no, that's not what I meant. Nope, stop. Oh no.
And like, here's the thing that bothered me the most, and this is something that's very this comes from a very personal experience play, so keep that in mind. If I say anything ignorant or misleading, anything I say, for the love of God, correct me.
Forgive him. He's ignorant.
Yes, that's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the thing that bothered me more than anything else in this is that, yes, there are a lot of people out on the spectrum that, like, especially low functioning, that stim a lot. There are ones that can't make eye contact. There are ones that follow a very strict routine and get upset when that routine isn't followed. Those are all real things. You know what they also have? A lot of goddamn personality.
We also don't use low functioning and high functioning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good to know.
It's just a thing.
What is the proper terminology?
I do not remember. I just remember we're not supposed to use low functioning and high functioning anymore. So
fair enough.
So I just refer to it as like more severe autism.
Fair enough. Okay.
So
thank you for clarifying that. That's actually good to know.
No worries.
So more severe cases of autism, but you know what? They actually have personality. They have quirks. They have likes and dislikes. They express their personality in everything they do.
They're people.
Exactly. They are people and not caricatures. This main character named Music does not have a personality. It is all just stims and quirks and perks and things that, like, this is what a ignorant person would think an autistic person looks like. Kind of a deal. And that's it. Yeah. It's that and what she's clearly seen in the tantrum videos. It is all just the autism speaks, not the person speaks.
Yeah.
And that's like, that is in every frame she's in. That's when we makes a point to have her in the frame every chance they get. Even when, as we both agreed later on, the movie isn't even about her.
No, that's the big thing about this. I pointed this out later. I was like, this, you could literally, the way that this character is in this movie is to be a very specific trope that is very common in a lot of really bad movies, which is this person is, has some kind of disability and they are put upon this other person as a burden. And over the course of this movie, the other person learns to not see them so much as a burden, but to appreciate the magic of them being a person and, kind of rediscover life a bit more through their eyes or some shit like that. And the role that Music plays in this movie,
it's insulting.
It's not just insulting, it could be replaced by so many things. She could very easily, yes, there is a lot of material in the movie about, her, basically, her autism and her being autistic. But the big thing about it is that she, her overall impact on the movie, her overall role in the movie, is not much more than someone who could be recovering from an accident that leaves them in a body cast, or somebody who is paralyzed from the neck down and needs to be taken care of 24/7, or just anybody who needs to be taken care of and is a burden upon the person who's the actual main character of the movie, which is her sister Kazoo, or Zoo for short. That is not a joke. That is what the name is. And
she's just a prop to highlight the suffering of Kate Hudson's character,
She
rather
is,
than a character in her own right with her own thoughts and feelings and motivations.
Yeah. She is the obstacle of the movie to be overcome and appreciated as a gift. And it's this amazing thing where, like, even within the context of the movie, even within the context of her being a quote-unquote burden on her sister, the real problems that her sister has have nothing to do with music.
Yeah.
Like, her problems have to do that she's involved in drug dealing and
the whitest drug dealer of all time.
Hang on, that part was hilarious. Let's get to that.
Okay.
But she's an alcoholic who is one of those annoying people who thinks they're so fucking clever and thinks that they can just be cute about fucking everything and just be like, you like me. I don't know why that's so hard. I can do that. Like, of course I'm awesome. I can do everything. What do you mean? Like, what can't I do? I can do anything. Show me that. Yeah, that's no big deal. Like, it's just that, right? I could do that. Like, and everything that someone says to her seriously, like, she just smirks it off with some kind of glib comment. And it's a defense mechanism, sure, but it makes her absolutely insufferable.
Yeah, like there's no reason to root for this woman.
It was so hard to sit here and watch her. We did that thing where we were both sitting here like, just deeply sighing, just totally unamused, unengaged, uninterested in what was going on with this character. And oh my god.
And then on top of that, you have the pretentious musical numbers.
Oh, right. And yeah, no, they're not even, it's not like musicals where sometimes, something really needs to be expressed by a character. And so they burst into song, and when words won't even do enough, they burst into just dance.
And it's not even like informing anything on anything.
No,
it's just, it's like, here's a bunch of bright costumes and like a very clumsy studio set.
Yeah.
We're gonna prance around on stage, signifying absolutely nothing for 4 minutes of your time.
They are at best, very tangentially connected to the character's experiences in the movie. And that is being generous. They'll just be going through things and, it'll just enter into a dance sequence. And you'll just sit there watching these colorful costumes and these characters making funny faces and them using, like, weird camera tactics and everything. And it's very much Sia, and it might have been fine on its own, honestly.
Probably.
Like, if she just decided to make, like, a 40-minute long anthology of music videos, and had it just be that probably would have been much better than this movie.
And even the ones that, like, do have any kind of, like, significance to the plot has all, like, the blunt subtlety of somebody goes to the parent and goes, this one's called Despair!
Yeah, right. What was it? Well, some of the lines were like, humans are insecure, love is the cure, and it's
and it just repeats that line over and over again.
It's just so...
The one that killed me was the one where they have, like, the magical neighbor who has all the answers popping out of an actual, like, giant Bible. It's like, Lord.
He rises out of this thing in silhouette like it's a coffin, and then another light comes on and it says Holy Bible on the side, and it's a book, and you're like, oh, a metaphor.
Like,
wait,
what? Fuck you.
Wait, metaphor
movie.
for what? Is it saying, why is he in prison? They don't bring up, he's never in a church. He never talks about Jesus. He's not, what is the Bible? No, the religion isn't mentioned in this movie. Yeah. And there's a whole subplot with this overweight, like, I think Filipino guy.
Yeah,
and
Filipino kid.
He's this kid who's like, he's got a dad who's really violent and intense and disappointed in him and wants him to fight, but the kid just wants to, like, be a dancer, and you see it in his dreams and everything, and, like, his mother believes in him and stuff, and he's training to be a boxer, and he doesn't want to be, but he is because his dad is pushing him to do it. And spoiler alert, during a fight there was a fight where his dad was, like, abusing his mom, and I expected it to be where, like, the dad hits the mom and the kid finally gets so angry that he hits the dad and maybe knocks him over and kills him or something. But the dad is basically choking the mom against a wall, And then the kid just kind of walks up and is watching in disbelief, and the dad just turns and hits the kid and continues choking the mom and doesn't even notice, but the mom notices over his shoulder that he pushed the kid over and the kid like hit the back of his neck or head onto the, like, I think it was like a shoe rack or something.
Something like that.
Something, and it's just bleeding onto the ground, and he dies.
Yep.
He dies. But he literally has no role in the movie other than, like, just being in orbit around these characters, and he's being trained by the neighbor.
Watching it from the corner, that's it. And then he plays with a flashlight against her wall from a building across, which is kind of creepy.
I was talking about this when it happened, because it does this thing where she goes to bed at night, and then he'll shine a flashlight through a window and move it around, and she's looking at it, and she's delighted, and being like, ha 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 ha, and, like, it's like, it's God, I wish, like, the super toned down thing I just did that felt fucking awful to do,
and like multiply that times 10, and that's
not
like
even close
movie.
It's not only not even close to what she's doing, it's not an exaggeration.
Not at all.
It's that bad, and she's just delighted looking at the pictures on the wall, and she has her own little dance sequence in her head for no fucking reason. But in my head, I'm like, how does he know she likes that? How does she know that she's not in her room freaking out over this random light shining into her room? Like, if she's that autistic and she's just randomly triggered by things on a level that just feels unreasonable and uninformed throughout the movie.
Yeah, I have a rant about that. We'll get there.
We should talk about that. But there's no way for him to know that this is a good thing to do. And he does it, and it just happens to be because the movie says it is, but it doesn't make sense. And then later, when he dies, the cops show up to take his body away, and the flashing lights from the sirens shine through her window and onto her wall, and she has the same weirdly delighted moment looking at the things on her wall, and it's a really bizarrely fucked up moment.
Yeah.
It feels like maybe Sia was going for, like, him trying to shine a light through her window one last time before he goes, but no, it's that she just doesn't understand that this is because he's dead, and she just likes pretty shining lights, and her friend that's been doing it for her all this time is fucking dead because his dad's abusive and killed him. Like, and the plot has no point in the movie. There's no reason for it to be in the movie. It serves no purpose.
Only for her to get the dog at the end. Like that.
Sure,
like
but
like tangential relation at best.
Yeah, he orders her a dog.
Let's just talk about Zia's
Sia
music's inconsistency here, because this fucking annoyed the shit out of me. Because at the very beginning of the movie, they very established that music has like a routine. She gets up, she brushes her teeth, and she has eggs, and then independently can go from her house to like a library, sit down and read a book for a while, and come back, no problem whatsoever. But literally anything else that comes up, it does not show the same level of independence, and she doesn't have the same level of cognizance. Because there's no way you have that routine every day without something weird going on, like halfway through, that she has to adapt and work around. So clearly they're established early on that even though she's not very verbal, she has a lot of nonverbal, she's not very verbal at all, but she can still like understand her environment and like react accordingly. But then that immediately goes out the window in the next scene, and this keeps flipping back and forth to the point like, okay, so you had no character in mind here. You had no idea what you were talking about. You had no concept of this person as a person. You only use this to serve like what was convenient for your like self-placement character for the movie to elevate her drama, to elevate her struggles, rather than
There's a scene near the beginning of the movie where her grandma dies, and she gets home, and her grandma's just dead on the floor, and she just goes and sits in her seat and just kind of nervously plays with stuff, and she doesn't know what to do. And their neighbor comes over because he's the landlord. He means to fix the air conditioner or something, and he comes in and he notices the body. And like, just to give you an idea of the caliber of writing in this movie, he calls the cops and he's like, "There's a woman here. She's passed out on the floor. She's not breathing. She doesn't have a pulse." And I'm like, "That's dead. That's dead. That means she's dead."
Yeah.
Dude. Like, it's... Yeah. I think she's dead. Like, it's not... I don't know why someone writing this thought that this was a good idea to write it like that, but That's the level of stuff you're dealing with. But the thing that bugged me about that, and we talked about this, was it's not like autistic people, even autistic kids, don't know what death is.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know how old music is supposed to be, but she looks like in her mid-teens, like 15 or 16 years old, right?
Yeah, like the actress was 15 when they made this.
Yeah, so, like, she's supposed to be in her mid-teens, and you're telling me that the people who made this movie, Sia, seems to think that because someone is autistic, they're stupid.
Like, they can't even like grasp when something is wrong.
Yeah. And that they won't start, like, you're telling me that she starts having a panic freak out because she's not getting her hair braided immediately, and her sister is like, I don't know, and she starts walking towards her, and then she just starts lashing out and throwing things and hitting things, but her grandma dies, and she's just sitting in the room like, I don't know what's going on. Like,
well, to be fair, the former of that can actually happen.
It can happen, but the way that it escalated,
for sure. No, it was done like with all the broad strokes. So.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen. I'm saying that it was clearly portrayed by someone who was told how it could happen, and then just made some shit up in their head without asking the person who'd actually been through it, is this how it would happen?
Which is what the main problem you have, and your only lens to how autistic people live is when you look only at videos of their fucking tantrums.
Yeah.
Because you miss all the nuances, you miss all the things they actually do provide, like the gifts they do give. And their endless joy and energy and enthusiasm and their just happiness for life in general, and all of that is lost when you only focus on like them at their worst self, and like all that just profoundly insulting as a concept, and it just insults their intelligence to such an absurd degree. Because that was the only thing I always kept telling people when I was doing that, when I was a behavioral technician, was like, they're smarter than you give them credit for. They understand what's going on.
What was it? There was that, oh god, I forget the name of the book, but there's this book that was written, there was this girl, like there was this family that had this autistic girl, and they were just taking care of her and everything, and one day they figured like they would just give her a laptop or something she could type on, basically.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that she could communicate like properly.
Yeah.
And so they just she just starts typing things out on the computer, and they realize that she's not a half a person or something. Like, there's a whole person in there.
Yeah.
And they wrote a whole book. And that's the main thing that people don't understand when they approach autism from this perspective, where it's not that they don't understand what's going on around them. People who are autistic are fully formed people who are just have a very difficult time interacting with the world sometimes because they get overstimulated. They're overly sensitive to things. They don't have full control over how much certain things rile them up. And like, loud, sudden sounds and stuff, right? Like certain textures and things. Those are things I deal with on a lesser level.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that they are absolutely fully formed people that you can fully interact with. They're just kind of... They're
just areas they struggle in.
They're struggling to interface with the world. Yeah. And this movie doesn't have that.
Not at all.
It doesn't have that. The character of Music is...
not a character.
She's developmentally disabled.
Yeah.
Like, she's not a fully formed mind.
She's defined by the autism and not who she is as a person.
Yeah. She's just symptoms. It's all symptoms.
Yeah.
There's no human that has the symptoms. It's all just symptoms. And we knew it was going to be that bad, but from the way that, like, from the motions and the way that it's all stimulus... Or not stimuli. It's all the way that she reacts to stimulus.
Yeah.
And she's constantly stimming. And what'd you say? Like, you said something about like it's like they watched a few things of different people that have different things, and they just decided to glue all of them. Like,
yeah, it's like there are some people, like, stimming is a very common part of autism for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's like a self-soothing thing. And like some people like do things where they can't look at people in the eye. I mean, it's like they get to flip their hands a lot.
I draw patterns with my fingers.
Yeah, and like I tend to like make squares in my feet. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, we all have our own little things. But it looks like somebody looked like a sample size of autistic people that do stimming a lot. And it's like, we're just going to put all of them in this character and hope for the best. So this character's constantly moving, like, playing with her lips, wiggling her hands, and not making eye contact. Just like, okay, I'm not going to say you can only have one, but at least make it, like, give it a purpose. Yeah. Give it a part that actually adds to who they are as a person.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, this is just another part of autism.
Yeah.
And the profound lack of understanding and the lack of willingness to understand beyond the surface level of it is just gross. Like, there's a part where she's walking with the neighbor in the park with music, like, chilling behind. And the neighbor starts explaining what he thinks autism is. And he says this statement that we just thought, like, no! Where he says, like, she's really sensitive to sound, so she has headphones all the time. By the way, I worked with somebody who had to use headphones. They don't wear them all the fucking time.
It's generally in... I actually realized that this was... I didn't realize that was a thing that people did.
Yeah.
But I used to... In high school, I used to have a pair of headphones that I wore pretty much all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, when I was walking through the mall... I might have music on in them, I might not, but I would have headphones on while I walked down the street, while I walked through the mall, and I didn't really think about, why. I just thought it was what I preferred, and I came to realize later, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, I was self-treating for overstimulation.
Yeah.
And, it's totally a real thing where they use the headphones like that, but the way that they use it in this movie...
is just insulting, and the way they describe it is even worse.
Oh god!
When he says,
"Oh yeah."
When he says,
"She's Daredevil."
Like, her hearing is so sensitive she can hear somebody whispering from 2 rooms away, and I was like, "Fuck you! It's not a fucking superpower."
There's a difference between having sensitive hearing and being sensitive to sounds.
Like I'm sensitive to sounds. When I was a kid,
yeah,
like my family, I was almost diagnosed as autistic when I was a kid because I used to hide in the corner in, like, playrooms and, like, be sitting there, like, covering my ears like this and, like, just, like, kind of quietly screaming to myself. I don't remember doing this, by the way. I just know that I've been told that it happened. They had tubes in my ear. But, like, that's... I don't remember where I was going with this. But the point is, like, stimulation and sensitivity to sound is a very real thing. But it's not a fucking superpower. It doesn't make you Daredevil.
Sorry, go on.
And it's like, there's that stupid myth where, like, we lose one sense and our sense is heightened. It's like, no, you're only more aware of the other sense. That's the realistic reason behind it.
I was like, the sense she lost was non-autism? Like, what are we trying to say here? Like, this is so fucking offensive.
And it just goes to the fact they didn't talk to a single expert that actually knew what they were talking about.
Well, it's not just that. They specifically fought against all of these people, literally thousands of people who were trying to tell her, stop doing it this way. This is not the way to do it. You need to speak to real people in the community. And she actively shunned them and insulted them, and it is the most privileged fucking thing where someone's like, I don't need to listen to the community I'm making this for.
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn my head up and be like, you don't understand. I mean well. You don't know how beautiful it is. I just know. I don't need to hear what you have to say. It is a staggering fucking thing that she has done. And it's really astonishing. But
can we talk about the hold?
Yeah, I was going to say, on this topic of, the park and incredibly inaccurate portrayals of autistic things, let's talk about the restraint scenes, because those are in there.
Look, here's the thing about holds. Holds suck. I've had to do them. It's the first thing they train you how to do, and how to do it safely, and how to do it with respect, and how to do it with respect to the person you're putting the hold in, and no longer than you need to. What they do not teach you is to crush the person you're trying to put in a hold.
Oh, Jesus.
And there's really no other nice way to put that.
I just I my dad used to have to do that to me to get me to take medicine because I hated the taste of cough syrup.
Oh, I don't blame you.
I fucking did. I didn't realize that. But no, it's like, because I still remember the first time I had like great cough syrup, and I was like, I've been betrayed. Like, what the fuck is this? But it's this.
You're like, and that same old they do in the movie where they like hold her down, which is gross, and like literally practically do like a police hold on her.
No, he straight up says, "I'm going to crush her with my love."
Which is, no, they do not teach you. What they do teach you is they tell you to sit down, have them sit down in front of you, where that you can safely like hold their arms back, stop them hurting themselves, and so that way they can actually breathe and calm down. Mm-hmm. They don't tell you, hey, pin her to the fucking ground.
There's in the park, Kate Hudson's character Zoo, literally when music starts having an episode, literally grabs her, puts her face down on the ground, and like pins her arms like a fucking cop. And it's so, I know that the point of the scene is that she's supposed to not know what she's doing, but at the same time, when it turns into something where she is doing, by the conveyance of the movie, what she's supposed to be doing, it's still not that different from what she was doing before, and it's definitely not what she's supposed to actually be doing.
No, because that position has gotten people killed.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately. Like, it used to be taught. There's a reason they don't teach it anymore, because it actually fucking hurts them.
God.
And, like, God, I'm not gonna lie, Holt is one of the reasons I quit, because you just fucking hate doing them, and they just take so much out of you.
Yeah. How about this? We've expressed a lot about autism.
Yeah.
There's a whole rest of the movie to talk about.
Alright, go for it.
Because, like I said earlier, she's just a prop.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be in the movie. Like, it's really weird because Sia, the way that Sia puts it, literally in the credits, it has a credit that says Music's World by Sia. And Sia is so proud of making this magical inner world of colorful shapes and music and costumes and dancing and all this fucking shit that's so incredibly off the mark. And she's so proud of it. And it's clear that she just wanted to have this be a thing in the movie. But the movie is really about Zoo, who is an insufferable, untrustworthy, flippant, arrogant, easily insulted alcoholic. She easily gets defensive. She's not drinking for most of the movie, but then she does. But she's the kind of person who will randomly do some shit that, like, is really disrespectful and then get upset at other people for getting upset at her. She gets upset at the consequences of her actions.
Basically.
And also, random weird-ass cameos by Juliette Lewis and Henry Rollins? For some reason?
Yeah,
I did not understand why they hopped up in the movie, but...
Can we talk about Sonic the drug dealer?
Oh, God. In a second. But just... She's impossible to root for.
Yeah.
She's impossible to root for. And the movie is not about music, it's about Zoo. It's about Zoo, and she's very difficult to empathize with. And after a whole movie of her doing just a series of things that, like...
Poor choices, the movie.
Impossible to engage with her as a human being. There's a moment where she hits rock bottom or whatever, and she fucks up, and then you get like a minute-long montage of her
I'm better now.
Getting her shit together. You spend so much of the movie showing her being a piece of shit, and then have a very brief montage of her begging for forgiveness and really asking... She literally asks her drug dealer, who she just lost like thousands of dollars worth of drugs from, just being like, hey, I know it's hard to trust me right now, but I've been having a really hard time, and I promise I'll get your money back. please. And then
that works.
And that works. Like, all of the conflicts that have been leading up to this point of the movie are immediately resolved and just forgotten entirely, and just become a non-issue because she's decided to stop drinking and really engage with her sister. And that's supposed to be the second half of the movie, or the third act or something, and they just into one little minute. And
but don't you know, Mohan, whenever you want to fix your life and all the worst parts of it, all you gotta do is decide not to do it.
You just gotta believe.
You gotta believe it. It just stops, man. It goes away. It's like a miracle. It goes away.
And here's I think. Let's talk about Sonic the Drug Dealer. I don't know, like you mentioned, they must have gotten to the bottom of the casting list, and I responded, I don't even know why he's on the casting list. You couldn't have chosen a less intimidating person, or a more realistic, like a less realistic drug dealer.
Maybe they're hoping like a Bruce Willis and Die Hard kind of situation. Like maybe he'll rise to the challenge.
It's Ben Schwartz with cornrows in like weird kimono looking things and shit. And
I do want to partially like copyright Sonic the Drug Dealer.
Yeah, we gotta give him cornrows though. We gotta tie the spines.
I can't wait to see Sega in court.
Oh god, but the way that his character expresses himself and what he cares about, and
it's like they originally cast him to be like the flamboyant gay best friend. And then they changed their mind, like, on the third rewrite and made him this, like, drug dealer instead. Because it also introduced...
Well, otherwise, like, how would they have the conflict with the drugs? She doesn't do drugs.
Maybe it's an amalgamation of two pre-existing characters they just smushed together.
Maybe, I don't know.
If I'm being, like, ultra generous, and that's, like, some just...
I mean, God knows they couldn't cut out a musical sequence to make room for some actual characters.
Because they also have, like, wearing, like, a kimono at one point, and, like,
that's what I said, like, his weird kimono, like, costumes and shit.
And then he has, like,
outfits.
He's introduced and, like, showing off a scene where he has, like a bunch of wigs for some reason. He's showing off. Oh, lordy.
Sia inserts herself into the movie as a pop star without borders who is volunteering to buy all of the painkillers that she can off of Kate Hudson's character.
Coming off in her best Shrek face paint.
Yeah, she's got some green face mask on, and so she's like, we're buying all of. I want to buy all of the painkillers you've got because there's been some regulations and stuff over there, and we're just trying to. I'm going to take your drugs and I'm going to buy them all and I'm going to give them to people who need them in Kenya. I need all your painkillers. There's been a disaster. I'm a helpful pop star, and it felt really weirdly unself-aware.
Yeah,
because
look how meaningful I am.
It was like, I have this wacky idea. What a great way to circumvent society's problems and do some good, and not realizing. And she very pointedly says "private jet," and. It's very weird because it feels like she's doing a self-own unintentionally and not realizing that this is basically how she looks to people by making this movie in the first place. It's weirdly on the nose.
Yeah, it definitely has that kind of pompous air of, boy, celebrate me. Please look how brave I am.
Look how clever I am.
I'm talking about all these deep things, you guys. Like, I'm so brave. Please recognize how brave I am.
And while they're there, music wanders through a coat rack and emerges into a musical sequence where she tries on a bunch of different outfits, and that's the song.
And I kept being reminded of Amanda Bynes and all that.
Yeah, it's weird. For whatever reason. Some of the facial expressions she makes have that weird thing, but just
that was another thing that bothered me though, because the fact that she has they have her music messing around with everything in there and can't keep her hands to herself, and I was like, but you showed her in the beginning of the movie being completely independent for at least 20 minutes at a time, and you telling me she can't handle this for 5 seconds?
Everyone in the neighborhood knows music. Everyone cares about her and offers her free shit while she's walking around, and it's like Belle walking through the village. Like it's just it's so bizarre.
But you can't sing that song when she's walking through the neighborhood.
What?
Belle song.
Which one? The one with
There's a girl.
Oh right.
The village song.
Oh god. But there's a weird thing where everyone seems to be on board to support this girl, and it takes place in a weirdly idealized vision of New York, I guess.
Lower income New York too.
Yeah, like this is not a wealthy area, but everyone's super friendly and supportive, and there's no crime to be worried about. You feel perfectly safe letting your autistic kid out on her own to just wander around. And yeah, she's a teenager, and there is a thing where they can have enough agency to take care of themselves for
sure.
routines like that.
Absolutely.
But like you said, there's the consistency of the character does not convey this in other scenes.
Exactly. That's my problem with it. Is like, okay, if you want to have her own agency, be independent. Okay, great. I have no objection with that. Be consistent with it.
And you're telling me nobody's gonna fuck with this girl? Like, nobody's gonna mess with her?
No new guy's gonna work in the library one day and not know she's coming?
Not to mention that she's in the library making noises and stuff, because one of the things she does is constantly make sounds. And it just feels very weird that Sia has this magical vision of like, and everybody loves her because she's wonderful. Like, I'm not arguing that she's not wonderful and that autistic people shouldn't be loved or something, but I think you're being a little generous about how the world works.
Yeah.
It's a privileged perspective.
Very much so.
And there's the matter of the neighbor, who is the best character in the movie because he's just this nice person. But
low bar.
yes, but he exceeds it considerably. But he's also like you said, the whole. There's this thing that black people call like the magical Negro scenario.
Correct. Yeah.
And you just happen to have this person of color in the movie who, it's like an overcorrection of racism, where
they have the answers to everything. Basically.
Yeah, they just know everything. They're magically supportive of everybody. They don't really need anything themselves. They might be suffering themselves. There's one point where you find out he has HIV, and then it's never brought up again.
Yep.
It's, he talks on the phone about needing the drugs to enter a clinical trial because then he'll die if he doesn't get them. But he just that doesn't come up aside from the fact that she finds out because she's dropping off HIV meds to him.
They don't even have a conversation about it. It's literally that scene, it just goes away and is never brought up again.
Yeah, she just looks at him like,
oh, you have HIV. Sad.
Yeah.
Fade.
I guess a meaningful conversation happened after this between the characters, but you'll have to imagine that part because we've got music to do.
I will say, the only part of the music sequences I legitimately just enjoyed was the part where you just have like the three preteen boys and these giant pink testicles.
They're just in these big pink bubbles, and they're just bouncing up and down.
And there's one kid that's like flapping like a penguin.
Yeah, if you've ever seen someone in one of those balls, they are hilarious and fun. And these kids,
I enjoyed watching.
These kids are having a blast, and it's pretty fun. It's hilarious.
Apropos of nothing else in that sequence, all of a sudden there's like three little testicles just bouncing in the background.
Keep seeing them as testicles?
Because I don't know, it makes me chuckle.
They're round. That's all. They're literally just balls. That's it.
I know it makes me chuckle. Let me have this.
Okay. Yeah, no, we need that after this movie. But yeah, no, so this black dude, like, he teaches boxing at the gym to kids, but at the same time he's compassionate and he understands that the one bigger Filipino kid doesn't want to be a boxer, and he plays piano like really well, and he he knows what to do with music at all times. He just understands everything with her. It's almost like he's her caretaker, but he's not. He's just their neighbor. And I don't know how many resources this guy has allocated to basically being this girl's like surrogate father on a certain level,
all
or surrogate big
zero
brother.
Scenes like together in a meaningful way.
They all of his interactions are basically with Kate Hudson's character, and when he interacts with music, it's basically scenes where he's teaching her or taking care of her or doing the restraint thing at one point. And the one thing that comes even close is the scene where he's using the little talk box thing to...
Yeah, when I used them, I called them just talkers. It was
talkers, sure.
Easy shorthand. Here's the thing about those. Those things are fucking expensive. Not the iPads themselves, the programs that you use for them.
Why would the program be expensive?
Because they know they have a slim control over the market, and they make it really expensive to buy, because capitalism.
Cool.
Sometimes insurance will cover it, sometimes it doesn't. It's a complicated thing. Can be difficult to teach depending on the person.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's using this thing to teach her, like, what emotions are, like, press this if you're happy, press this if you're sad, and, like, he literally is an integral part of this girl's life, and nothing's ever established aside from him being her neighbor. How long has he been living there? How long has he been a part of her life? Like, how long... What are the backgrounds of these characters outside of this movie? And also, what is Kate Hudson?
Yeah.
Like, outside of being this girl who has a drinking problem, has addiction issues, has gotten in trouble with the laws and is on probation, and is adverse to responsibility, who is she as a person outside of this? Like, she wants to go to, Costa Rica?
So she's stay on the beach. Paradise, yeah.
Yeah, she just wants to go to some beach place in some Mexican beach somewhere and live out her days there and just live on the beach. And there's no expression of her actual life before this, like any actual dreams that she may have had, any personality that she has outside of just not wanting to be bothered, and her relationship with music. She's almost a non-character herself.
Yeah.
And it's very weird.
And she's one you're definitely supposed to empathize with.
And you don't.
And they, like, this has come full circle, in the very end credits. You pointed this out.
No, I sat us through the credits because,
masochism is what masochism does.
I feel like sometimes you just gotta let it go through. And then we got to Tig Notaro doing the weird TV show thing, where she's weirdly deadpan and doesn't seem to be into it. And
she looks like she's being held hostage.
Yeah, it makes for a weird, like, meta humor kind of thing. But as the credits are scrolling by, it goes to the thanks section, and as it's scrolling through the thank yous at the very end, it says something about, like, and a thank you to all of my 12-step programs, plural, and not just plural, like all of, implying there are many. And you have saved my life again and again, and all this stuff. And you realize that Zoo is a self-insert for Sia.
Yep.
And Sia wrote this character trying to make her seem like someone you're supposed to empathize with, and makes her, and it's supposed to make her, like, charming and stuff, I guess. And so at the end of the movie, the only conclusion you can come to is that Sia actually thinks that this character is good and to be rooted for, and that has good, like, motivations, and, is basically calling herself out in such a major way, and most of all, basically directly tells on herself.
Yep.
For having this movie not be about the autistic character that she put so much effort into forcing through. Like, it didn't have to be that. This could have just been the story of a woman trying to recover, and you would have had more time to develop the characters. You wouldn't have had to have this horribly offensive insert put into there, incredibly just completely misdirected. And you could have had a more pure story about a woman trying to recover from addiction and really figuring out how to be a good person and how to be there for others and not be so selfish and how to channel her energy into good things. But it just feels so slapdash.
Yeah.
And it feels like it wasted so much time doing something that nobody wanted and everybody actively did not want and tried to tell her not to do. And all these weird musical sequences in between. Like, it's such a bizarre series of choices. And it doesn't make sense why any of it would happen other than Sia really wanted this to be a certain thing. And she refused to listen to anybody who tried to tell her, maybe don't do that part. And she's like, no, fuck you. I'm Sia. Like, I can do this. I know best. I have love in my heart. I just have to make the magic inside of myself real. And she did, and she realized it's not good magic, and no one wants this kind of magic.
It's the worst kind of self-insert. And in a weird way, this reminds me of the prom. Let me explain my logic here.
Go for it.
In that a movie about a bunch of celebrities butting their head into a matter they have no concept or understanding for.
Oh, and then completely leaving behind the person that they were supposed to be doing it for?
Yep, and then say, okay, we're going to make it about them, but it's really we're making it about her, but it's really all about them. Now, at least the prom, to its credit, had some self-awareness about that fact for the first act. Are you going to make it?
No.
Okay.
Gobi!
Not even close.
It didn't even go up. It stayed in my hand a little too long. It went straight down.
Anyway, and in that same vein, this movie feels like I'm gonna insert myself into this complex issue. You derailed the fuck out of me, man.
I love how
I'm just gonna like.
It basically went downwards at like a 15 degree angle. It just went.
This is like revenge for those times I've like farted in the middle of a monologue of yours.
How many times?
My count twice.
You did. You did do it. The Possessor one was pretty good.
Anyway, so in that same way, it feels like a self-insert from Sia of like, I'm gonna put myself in this controversial topic. I'm gonna bring light to it in a way that nobody else ever has. But really, it's all about look at me, make this matter all about how it makes me feel.
So self-indulgent.
And it's trash. It's fucking trash.
It's so bad.
And it's one of those things like, gosh, she had so many chances to make amends, and she just fucking didn't. And for that, like, fuck off. Fuck this movie. Fuck everyone involved in it. Well, fuck everyone that Sia convinced to be involved in this.
Just fuck Sia in general.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing there.
Fuck Sia and her pretentious ass bullshit.
But I want to... one thing, hang on.
Are you looking for the Letterboxd review?
No, there's one thing here. You gotta understand, I have never seen a review spread on Letterboxd that's that bad. Like, look how biased it is towards the 1 star. And that bottom one, that's not 1-star reviews. Those are half-star reviews, because that's as low as you can go. And the average rating for this is 1. Damn. So, 2.4 thousand half-star ratings, 707 1-star ratings, 254 1.5-star ratings. Now let's go all the way up. 38 5-star ratings. There are 38 people. Now, granted, this means that 3 more people have reviewed it as a 5-star movie since I checked like a week ago. But 14 gave it 4.5. Like, this is
bad.
This is so amazingly bad. This is not something where people are like, oh, you know, people have different opinions. Some people like them, some people don't. Most people don't, but some people like them. Like, I haven't seen Suicide Squad panned this poorly. Like, actually, how is Suicide Squad rated? Let's see.
Tangent. All right, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, look. See? Distribution of ratings is much more even though it still trends towards the bottom. The average rating for this is 2.0.
By the way, I have to ask, have you seen the clips from the Snyder cut of the Leto Joker?
No, I'm holding off on everything. I expect there to be some aggressive cheese in there, but I'm fine.
Okay.
But yeah, I just this was an ordeal. This was difficult to sit through. There were actively points throughout the movie where one of us was just actively just goes into an outburst of anger and frustration about, like, it doesn't even make sense. Why are they doing this? These aren't connected. This is stupid. Why is that there? And oh yeah, the kid that died. There's a thing where he comes up and, like, he puts a blanket over Zoo while she's sleeping on the couch, like, just to take care of her, I guess, as he dies and goes off to heaven. But the thing is, they've never met.
Yep.
Zoo has no connection to this guy. There's no reason. It would have made more sense for him to show up in Music's bedroom and tuck her in and be like, all right, I'm going off to heaven. Like, that would have made much more sense. But he tucks Zoo in, and Zoo doesn't know who this guy is. It's so incredibly fucking disconnected. And, you know, there's no storytelling skill here. There's no idea of pacing and how elements should connect. It's just ideas that were thrown together, and she was given the power to make a movie because she's a pop star. And, oh my god, just, it's...
Fuck this movie.
Fuck this movie. It sucks.
Wanna watch Psycho Gorman?
I want to watch Psycho Gorman.
No, we're gonna watch Psycho Gorman.
Alright, y'all.
Hope you enjoyed that.
Don't give this movie money.
No.
We didn't.
Let it rot. But, well, don't admit that out loud.
I borrowed it from a friend.
For legal reasons.
Yeah.
Bye.